Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic. So, Torya, it finally happened.
What finally happened?
The thing you've been threatening to do since we started up our Vital Factor meetings again.
Oh yeah, I fired my douchebag.
So, I'm glad we're talking about this tonight because we got this goof bag over here.
Gonna get an outside perspective.
Goof bag. And we got your favorite blockhead over here. We got Brian. He's got his gloves on, so he's ready to fight. Looks like we're in trouble.
Well, Blockhead was sitting on the throne in the bathroom trying to figure out his newest epiphany, and the Blockhead phone rings, and Commissioner Mahoney summons me and just says that I'm needed once again. So I've come down to the Smoke and Mirror City to face the Torians for a final showdown.
After this story, you might not want to mess with them Torians anymore.
Oh, I've got some backup. I think he's actually coming on my phone right now. Is that you, Snake Eyes?
This is Snake Eyes with YFB Recon. We have entered the compound. We have seen the Torya Empire approaching at 40 nautical miles. We are target.
Oh, the YFB Thunderclap just showed up, so I got a little bit of reinforcement now.
Well,
if you
tell
say
the story.
So. I do better with this than Instagram wars. We'll just put it that way. The other ones are too vague.
Tell the story.
So this dude was like first major client. Like he had a lot of hours and stuff. For the first little while, he was fine. No big deal. We made a lot of good podcasts out of him. Like Patrick from Newport Beach. Good stuff like that. But after a couple months of working with him, he kind of got a little demanding and he started sending me emails that were like, "What the fuck, Victoria? What? Why do you talk to me that way?" Anyway, so I was offended and it would stress me out on a regular basis. And then a couple weeks back, he sent me a text message saying that I could be replaced. And I was like, fine, replace me. I'm out.
Any of us can be replaced on a PowerPoint presentation. You just delete the name. You can always include somebody else. YFB is here for his application process.
It's true.
Right. You're right, though. But at the same time, you're exactly right because I can take what you said and turn it around on him and say, yeah, you're replaceable, bro. Like,
right?
You may think you're not, but you are. And what really bothered me about it was what she's being modest about is literally every time he came with one of those what the bleep emails.
It was his fault.
It was his fault. He changed a password or he removed a bank account from an account and so the payment didn't go through. Things like that. And things that she didn't even have access to. Like, that's how you knew, all right, it's like saying someone who doesn't have a key to your house came in your house and took your dog for a walk or something. They can't do that. It's impossible.
So this text message...
So it pissed me off.
This text message came on a Tuesday. This text message came on a Tuesday. And I stewed about it on Wednesday, and I stewed about it on Thursday, and I stewed about it for most of Friday. And I didn't get any less mad. So when I don't get any less mad, I know I'm out. I'm done.
That's a pretty well-prepared Torian stew right there. That's slow and slow. That's the way to go.
Yeah. I wrapped up all the loose ends, and then at 5 p.m. on that Friday, I sent him an email that says, as of 5 p.m. Friday, consider me replaced. Have a nice life. And he didn't see it until Sunday morning.
It was Saturday morning.
You're too busy battling the Blockhead Nation, so you got your plate full at the moment. So.
Exactly. I got too much
Our battle's clever, okay? Let's not kid ourselves. When you and I have our, quote, disputes and all that, this is all in fairness. And to be fair, this is all fun. This is just kind of builds your show, builds my show. It gives you all content. And it's been fun and all that. But again, I'm hearing all of this and I'm just going, okay, that's pretty toxic. It's time for y'all to cut ties and move on.
Yeah, and that's exactly the biggest decision wasn't whether to let him go or not. The biggest decision was, do you give him notice or do you not give him notice? And so what happened here is, here's how I analyze it. And I've never told Torya this exact thing, but
oh my,
she got a new client that was literally worth double the money. So, you know, you could get rid of him and still increase how much money you're making. And the new client is sort of particular. So if you screw up, you're not going to give very many chances, it feels to me, and he'll move on. Like, he's one of those. So he's a really nice guy, but he's, you know, he knows what he wants.
If you need a little quote just to fill that in, I guess you can tell the other dude, not the new dude that you're getting for the new client, but you tell the other dude, hey man, you're not even a spoke in the wheel at this point. You're one of the annoying cards that are in the spokes that can be kicked out of the bicycle completely. So
right, and that's
so funny that you say that.
That's right.
Oh, I'm intrigued now.
Then she's still in touch with somebody from his organization. And so she got some interesting news that she had, in fact, recently, within the last day or so, been replaced. So go ahead, tell the rest of your story.
The person who I was replaced with lasted 12 hours before they quit. 12 whole entire hours, not days, not weeks, hours. And so, like, after the Friday when I sent the email, I got some desperate voicemails, whatever. And then he went around telling people that he'd let me go. Lie. Got the email to prove it, bro. And then, yeah, he replaces me, and that person can stand him for precisely 12 hours.
So
you can cover your tracks, and this other guy was hanging around the Keurig for too long. So if you're not being productive, it's time to go.
But that's where I got angry. And it's interesting because, you know, it's not emotional anger. The only way I can put it is, you know, like, it's, you could say it's intellectual anger. It like was offensive to me that he would clearly be like, you know, the guy making the mistakes and screaming and yelling and acting like an ass. And then he gets let go and he tries to turn it around. It's like, you're so intellectually dishonest, man. I just want to like throat punch you with actual words, you know?
There's an acronym for that. It's ARR, authentic rage. Arr.
Arr.
What's the second R?
There's an AR,
you just roll with that and just extend it as far as you need to.
Pirate style.
But that's the thing. Like I like that term because intellectual anger sounds just so stupid. But authentic anger, that's like perfect because you're not having anger because you're being like emotional, like, oh my God. You're having anger like, I can't believe this person breached that confidence or did this or did that. You know,
what did I call him? A Dick Weasel?
In shock. Yeah, oh my God, you were bad.
I'm sure you're tempted to say I prostrate myself before you and beg your forgiveness.
Well,
I have responded to literally 0 of his communication attempts. And if he says something rude to me because it's still not, I'm sure it's not over yet. All he's getting back is a middle finger emoji. Like, that's how I've decided is the most professional way to respond. Just suck it, bitch. You know?
In a clean format, he's been ghosted, but in the explicit format,
exactly.
That's what's happened.
Well, that's the thing. Like she's right. Like, so far, he's been, the only thing that he did that was offensive was something she wouldn't normally know. So he didn't expect her to know. And, you know, that's the thing about people's character. Their character is who they are when no one else is looking. And so when they can act like you're such an important asset to your face, but behind your back, be like, oh, you can be replaced. I don't need you.
Right.
Well, there's something wrong with that kind of person. I mean, that's not authentic. That's somebody being fake. My anger is like 100% authentic because of the behavior. Like, what the heck is this guy up to?
And here, Wife B is just trying to be a Tylenol to your authentic rage. Oh, we should all sip our Snoopy cups and sing some Kumbaya.
I don't know about all that.
It may not even work early.
I think that we need to explore the rage when you have it, because if you don't experience the feelings and you just bottle them up,
true,
they just become even more. They become more explosive later. That doesn't mean you should go like, you know, crap all over someone's situation, but you've got to. If you're rageful, you can at least experience it. You don't have to give it back, but you can at least experience it because it teaches you something about yourself. That's something you taught me, Victoria, was to feel the emotions and then be able to
Feel
be like,
the rage.
but then be able to say to yourself, you know what? If I go off on this person, that's a bad thing. I need to shut my mouth. So you need to be able to pick and choose when to give it back. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I think.
Please no, I'm not trying to say internalize anything. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I agree with you that if you allow it to gunny sack, allow it to bottle up for a while, obviously, yeah, and then it falls on the wrong person. You know,
Right.
you take it on somebody that didn't do anything to you. They were your last straw at that point. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That's just what that's how YFB rolls. Can I throw in a quick story here just to see if you know to be a antidote for the authentic rage syndrome? We had a story actually last night that had me rolling. You've been angry for a while, but I have been just on the last couple of days just been barely be able to keep my composure because we have been laughing about so many things over here at the Blockhead Mansion. Last night, whenever we went to Dairy Queen, we stopped by and we were, my stepdaughter, our daughter, has really gotten into TikTok. And now you got to be careful with those kind of formats about what can be seen through there. But there are some of them that she's able to access that she shows me and she shows the little redhead girl, and we get to watch them and just go, what is, it's not provocative. It's just really, it's stupidity, but it's a lot of funny stupidity. It's like, golly, we all in this house are watching cartoons and stupid stuff. I mean, it's contagious with all of us. But she was watching these TikTok videos, and somewhere in there, it was perfect. You know how sometimes you just have perfect timing when something comes, it becomes an inside joke because you're going to have to explain it for a while. It's a long story. Every time that's your answer, it's a long story on why we're all laughing. But there's a select few of it that you know what's going on. She showed this TikTok video and was just dying laughing. And over the intercom, they play old jams. They play stuff from the 50s and 60s. They play like the song you hear in Sandlot. You would hear Tequila in the background, or you would hear, there was an old song that says, when you have a headache, this is something you can take. If you have a backache, you take this. But when you have a heartache, there's nothing you can do. It was that particular song. But it was perfect timing. Right as she shows this TikTok video and this stupid thing, and she gets through laughing, we hear over the intercom, when you have a headache. And we were at that table just dying laughing. So if you need an antidote when you're caught in the authentic rage R moment, that's YFB's antidote. Just think in the back of your mind, somebody singing, when you have a headache, you can take this. Spread the love. That's what's going on in our world.
It reminds me of a lot of the different episodes that we've had where we've talked about like renter issues and things like that, because this guy inspired all of those things.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, when you start thinking about it, he's like the inspiration for all of that. So I think overall, people want to place blame in situations. And I really don't think doing what you feel needs to be done in a situation like her leaving the job. She had her reasons why. So why place blame on her? And really, why place blame on him? It's kind of a mutual thing. You agreed to work with him. He agreed to work with you. He was mistreating you. You stayed for a while hoping it would change. That's all. What is it? Mutually agreed upon. And that's that's where I think the authentic anger comes in for me, because it's like, dude, like, you've been doing this for a long time. It's not like she rage quit the second you said something she didn't like, which would be extremely unreasonable. She stuck it out, so I don't know. It bothers me. It still bothers me. And I think nobody seems to understand the difference between that and an emotional anger. Like, you know what? If you come on and you keep sticking your tongue out, and I know we don't have video for the show, but we do have video where we can see each other. And if he just kept, now he's going to keep sticking his tongue out. But if he kept sticking his tongue out, and I said to him, like, knock it off, you're distracting me. And he kept sticking his tongue out. Well, I'm going to say, man, this guy's being purposely being a jerk.
Yeah, he's trying to poke the bear.
And everyone's going to be like, well, why? Well, because I asked him not to do it, and I asked him in a nice way, and his reaction was to just keep doing it. Now, he has every right to do that, but I have every right to respond by saying, wow, what a jerk. But then what people say is, oh my God, you're the jerk. You shouldn't call him a jerk. That's not nice. Well, guess what, man? If you tell me you like honest communication, you're going to get the truth from me when the time comes. I'm going to just say to you, you're acting like a big giant baby. And I know some people think that's rude, but I actually think it's rude to hide it from somebody, because aren't you lying if you're not telling people exactly what you actually feel?
It's relevant because you just explained a day of middle school right there in a nutshell. Would you please that? And they keep doing it. And I told you not to. And there it is. Yeah. As the dodo birds make their way through the hallways every single day. That is
there it is.
Same rhetoric that we've got.
But see, there it is. What level of ability did he place that on? Middle school. I mean,
that's what I'm getting at.
I mean, and that's like, and literally, that's when children first, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's been a while for me, but isn't that when children first, like, kind of try to step out on their own, and the school kind of tries to treat them like their own entity? They don't include the parents as much. And that's when, your parenting skills are tested.
That's exactly when it happens.
It's true. It's when it's tested, because you're not being told everything. So you have to check on your kids. And that's funny. I didn't think about that, but you're right. That's very similar to what this situation is.
Very in the Wonder Years, and there you had it. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say?
And as I said,
sorry.
I'm sorry, Torya. This is our feud. It's our feud we're having here. He wasn't clear.
What did you think, Torya?
I said I like to call them toddlers.
Yeah, she used to use on Facebook #toddlers.
Then everybody stole it from me, so I stopped. But people like this client dude, he gets all mad and then he stomps his feet, and when he doesn't get his way, he starts rage screaming. And it's just like, you watch those videos of like 2-year-olds having temper tantrums about nothing on Facebook, and it's him in a nutshell. Be like, I'm screaming because there's no cheese left in the refrigerator. I'm screaming because I told her she was replaceable and she said, fuck you, replace me. Like,
I don't know if we could put him in the category of toddler. Does that sound more like a tiara to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Exactly.
Princess.
That was a good one. That's true. It's true, though. More like a princess. Like, totally like a princess. That's exactly what it is. And
this is why you have me in your network.
But dude, it comes, but maybe, I realized something. I didn't explain my rant before. If you and I met each other like in person and you said to me, man, if we're going to work together, I like people to tell me exactly what they think about me. I don't want any sugarcoating. Don't sugarcoat it. I hate that stuff. Okay. Now you're me. You know me from the show. Do you think I'm going to not accept that request? Like, you say, tell me the truth, I'm going to take advantage and tell you the truth. And then you can't, I feel like at that point, it's your right to get pissed off about it, but you probably shouldn't get pissed off about it because, hey, I'm just telling you my opinion like you asked me to do.
I figured that would be a fair assumption to say that if you want to know where you're telling the truth, you're telling the truth on this podcast, because when people are coming out and letting their hair down in a podcast, you are seeing actually more often than not the true persona of somebody. Right. So I would assume that the way we interact with each other is still going to be the way we were in close proximity to each other. That would be that would be a fair assumption, correct?
I think so.
Seems
because
reasonable.
I actually shouldn't even say I think so. I know so, because one of the things that we like about people that we like is the authenticity in everything, and being able to tell us, you know what, you need to tone that down, or you need to do this, you need to do that, and us being able to do the same thing with them without the other person getting offended, because they realize that you have to think, if you assume positive intentions, then you're going to feel positive about it. So you've got to assume they're coming at you from a place of love, right? So if they correct you, they're not coming at you to like, oh, you're bad, I'm going to shame you. Instead, they're coming at you from the standpoint of, here, I love you, I don't want you to go down this path, I want to fix it. Right?
It's like when we have a guest and they tell us they're not super curse word friendly. And so
who might that be?
Torya restrains her curse words just for them because she appreciates them.
Anybody to send
she didn't say you asked. But she never said you asked. What she said was, touché. You made the comment that you would prefer, and you literally, and you're right, and I got to give you a lot of credit, man. Like,
I wasn't going to name names.
Most mature response for anybody in that situation was what you did. You were like, look, it's your show. You handle it how you want to handle it, but I'm more comfortable when it's this way. So that gives us the opportunity that if we're on a show with you, like right now, we can decide, do we need to take it down that path or not? And then you gave us the opportunity to make up our own mind. There was no force there. It was like, here's what I would prefer. Well, and then we get, as an adult, you let us respond accordingly. And like I said, sometimes we might, like tonight, there's been certain places where for emphasis, we used the curse words.
Sure.
You're still here. You didn't die. No. I mean, because you're an adult. And that's what we like about people that we like, is they can act like an adult. They don't need to be like continually pampered all the time and always taking offense to everything anyone says, because
I'm offended.
You have to have authentic relationships, and you can't have an authentic relationship with somebody if you're telling them, oh yeah, I'm just fine with everything you said, but inside you're going, oh my God, I can't believe they said that to me. Blah, 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 blah. You don't have to attack people on things, but you have to be authentic about, yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was bad.
Sure. And again, that hasn't come up on any real incident. Like I said, once again, everything with me and the Torians is, quote, # grain of salt in every way on this. But
exactly. And now I know why he gave that disclaimer.
Exactly.
But I know why you gave that disclaimer, and I'll tell you, it's something that I've got a person I'm dealing with like this, and she's got a person she's dealing with like this. And she actually specifically talked about hers, and I'm specifically not talking about mine, but anybody, like, what did you say before? There's that inside joke, right? So anyone who knows,
right,
they are going to listen to this and know, and everyone else is going to be like, God, who the heck is he talking about? And that's great too. You know why? Creates intrigue in your content. Oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah, what are they talking about? Yeah,
I like letting people know sometimes that they're being manipulated a little bit. I mean, why not?
You should be warned somewhere in the disclaimer. If you're coming on the nightly rant, you might be playing with fire, but there should be your warning. But speaking of that, actually, there was something we mentioned about meeting each other in real life. Is even though we're all friends in podcasting, and we are doing this through internet means, I don't know that even though there's a danger that happens with technology too that y'all can bring up. The danger I'm talking about is if you looked at the overarching concept of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. In many ways, he wasn't just talking about censorship of books. He was showing the advancement of technology where, houses have nothing but TVs, spend all day on a pad. At that time, it was radio. But how people are so detached from reality, and there's so much, I guess you can say, everything is desensitized. So technology in so many ways is, and like they talked about in the book, that it can bring people closer together, but it even separates people at the same time. And they talk about the book about how, books burn at this temperature. Well, books, fire can be used for two things. It can be used to destroy something, or like in the end where it has the campfire, where it is creating warmth and it's bringing about unity and people who want to have intellectual thought again. Because Montag ends up knowing the book he had was from the Bible, but there were other guys that had memorized books now that they were banned from society. So I had to pull that in there just because I'm like, yes, technology brings us together, but you can't tell me you haven't seen how it separates people as well. So there's some dangers that happen in this as also.
But that brings us right back to being authentic, because if you're not authentic and you're hiding things that you don't like, you don't have to be. I think the first thing that has to happen is you have to establish trust and friendship, right? You have to be like, all right, I like this person and they like me back. And so far they've given me no reason not to trust them. And you try something small out, like, hey, did you ever think about cleaning your glasses more often? It's something I tell myself all the time, actually. But have you ever thought about that, right? Like, and you see how they react. If they react and like, oh, thanks for, I'm sorry, I'm right, you're right, I don't clean them enough. I'm sorry, thanks for reminding me. And they clean it up. Well, then that when they talk to you, more than likely, you're going to trust that they're being authentic and they're telling you the truth. So you're going to act accordingly, right?
Sure, right.
Okay, but then we're gonna talk this out for a second. So then you get to the end of the process, and the person all of a sudden is like, "Yeah, I'm done with this relationship," and you're like, "Okay, why are you done with this relationship?" Oh, you're just
there. Yeah,
you always attack me. Well, then you talk to somebody else, and they say, "No, that's not true. Actually, he always attacks us." And so the other perspectives are very, very different than what that person has, right?
Right.
And you talk to other people and they all have your perspective on it. And you kind of go, okay, well, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, but it definitely means I'm being reasonable.
Sure. I mean, again, most of the time, wouldn't you want I mean, that's kind of, isn't there a type of man law that we all follow, is that if you really do have a problem with me, I appreciate if you, whether I like it or not, I still appreciate at the end of the day, if you call me to the side, man to man, we talk about it, even if we agree to disagree at the end of the day. I would hope it, because we all hope it can end there. You know, there can be a handshake, there can be adult beverage, there can be something that happens here. But of course, if it goes to the next level, of course, now that's when you involve your witnesses. If you go to this, I was like, well, I didn't want to be involved in this fight, but I guess you forced my hand in it. But that would always be where we hope. I think that's even in, whether it's military or corporate, people try to keep it at chain of command so that we don't have gossip that is destroying an organization, that's small-mindedness, and it does nothing but just muddy the water. That would be some of the conceptualization that we're doing here. That, again, from my own mind, I would hope that it can be quote unquote squashed at the lowest level, but that doesn't always happen because, just like America's story, when people are told not to do something, they do it anyway. They find a way. I mean, let's look at, even in history, we can look at Prohibition. Remember what happened with that? Prohibition became one of the biggest money makers for people who made their own personal moonshine in the history of man. I mean, that's where we got our souped up cars for the first time that could outrun the cops. The only time that an amendment's ever been completely reversed was Prohibition. So again, maybe a nice idea. On paper, it's a nice idea from the people that are all about temperance that are saying, hey, this is causing people to go home and beat on their wives and their kids. Okay, that's not an every person basis. They go, let's eliminate that completely. Well, you just messed with free will. You messed with freedom of choice. And you misunderstood America's way of thinking, which is just like a lot of middle school kids that I teach. You tell them not to do something. They may not do it right in front of you, but they find a way. And then you eventually have to learn to play their game. So middle school will teach you a lot about American history just by watching their habits.
Brian's appearance went longer than we had expected, so we have split this into 2 episodes. You will hear the rest of part 2 of Brian's appearance in TNR276. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please listen to TNR276 that follows. Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.